Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to see how the small money decisions you make every day can quietly shape your entire financial future. Let's get started.
How small financial decisions quietly shape your entire life. Have you ever wondered why two people can earn almost the same amount of money, live in the same city, and yet feel completely different financially? One seems to have room to breathe. The other is constantly waiting for payday. And the strange part is, the difference usually isn't one huge financial mistake. It's a collection of small decisions. The apartment that costs a little more. The car payment that feels manageable. The credit card purchase that seems insignificant. The subscription nobody remembers signing up for. None of these decisions look life-changing on their own. But together, they can quietly shape the next 10 or 20 years of your life. Imagine someone we'll call Daniel. He's 29, works a professional job in the United States, and earns about $75,000 a year. After federal and state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and other deductions, let's assume he takes home roughly $4,700 a month. On paper, that doesn't sound bad. But then real life begins. His rent is $1,800. His car payment is $550. Insurance and fuel cost another $300. Student loan payments take $250. Credit card payments average $250. Food, utilities, phone, subscriptions, and everyday spending bring the total even higher. Suddenly, that $4,700 paycheck doesn't feel particularly large. And Daniel isn't necessarily irresponsible. In fact, he's doing what millions of people do. He wants a comfortable apartment because he works hard. He wants a reliable car because he needs to commute. He uses credit cards because they're convenient. He occasionally upgrades his phone because his old one feels outdated. And when his income increases, his lifestyle slowly increases with it. That's where the problem becomes interesting. The financial mistake isn't necessarily spending money. It's committing future income before that income arrives. Consider the car. Daniel could afford a $350 monthly payment. Instead, he chooses a car with a $550 payment. The difference is only $200. $200 doesn't sound like much. But $200 every month is $2,400 every year. Over 5 years, that's $12,000 before considering what that money could have done if invested. Now imagine Daniel also increases his rent by $200 because he wants a nicer apartment. Another $2,400 per year. Together, those two small upgrades consume $4,800 every year. That's almost $400 a month. And this is where basic math starts revealing something psychology often hides. We tend to evaluate purchases by asking, can I afford the monthly payment? But financially intelligent people often ask a different question. What percentage of my future income am I committing to this decision? Because monthly payments can make expensive things feel surprisingly cheap. A $40 subscription feels insignificant. A $70 monthly payment feels manageable. A $200 upgrade doesn't feel dramatic. But the brain sees each decision separately. Your bank account experiences them together. And there's another psychological force at work. Lifestyle inflation. When income rises, people rarely think, my income increased, so I'll keep my lifestyle the same and invest the difference. Instead, the brain quickly adjusts to the new standard. A better apartment becomes normal. A newer car becomes normal. More restaurants become normal. More expensive vacations become normal. And eventually, the previous lifestyle starts feeling uncomfortable. This is important because lifestyle inflation doesn't just increase spending. It increases the amount of money you need to maintain your life. If Daniel's monthly expenses grow from $3,500 to $4,200, he hasn't simply spent an extra $700. He's created a lifestyle that requires another $700 every month just to maintain. That changes his decisions at work. It changes how much risk he can tolerate. It changes whether he can take a lower-paying opportunity. It changes whether he can survive an unexpected expense. And eventually, it can influence major life decisions. Now consider the alternative. Suppose Daniel receives a raise that increases his take-home income by $500 a month. Instead of immediately upgrading his lifestyle, he keeps most of his existing spending and directs $400 toward long-term investing. At a hypothetical 7% annual return, investing $400 every month for 20 years could grow to roughly $208,000. The exact return isn't guaranteed, of course. Markets don't move in straight lines. But the important point isn't the number. It's the behavior. The difference between financial stability and financial pressure can sometimes begin with a decision that feels almost too small to matter. And this isn't unique to the United States. In Europe, the details might look different. Someone might be dealing with higher taxes, different housing costs, public transportation instead of a car, or different student loan systems. But the underlying psychology is remarkably similar. People adapt to what they can afford today without always considering what that commitment does to tomorrow. Financially intelligent people don't necessarily avoid spending money. They simply understand that every recurring expense competes with another possibility. A $500 monthly car payment isn't only a car payment. It's also $500 that cannot simultaneously become an investment, an emergency fund, or financial flexibility. A more expensive home isn't automatically a bad decision. But the person buying it should understand what they're giving up in exchange. That's the perspective shift. Money isn't only about what you can buy. It's also about what your money allows you to choose later. And that's why small financial decisions matter so much. The coffee isn't going to destroy your finances. The occasional dinner isn't the problem. Buying something you enjoy isn't financially irresponsible. The bigger issue is when dozens of small commitments slowly become permanent. Because once a higher lifestyle becomes normal, reducing it can feel like losing something. Even when you're simply returning to a level you could comfortably afford. So perhaps the better question isn't, can I afford this? Maybe it's, do I want this expense to become part of the life I'm building? That's a much harder question. But it's also a much more useful one. Because wealth is rarely determined by one dramatic decision. More often, it's shaped quietly, month after month, by ordinary choices that don't seem important at the time. If you found this perspective useful, consider subscribing for more calm, practical conversations about money and financial psychology.